Welcome, Schuco and Tin Toy fans. This is the Tin Meister with another episode featuring a Schuco car. Later on in the episode today, we're also going to take a look at some literature. But today we're going to be taking a look at the Schuco Elektro Control-Car, the 5308, made from 1957 to 1969. Schuco described this car as a driver's school car. It's battery powered, but the batteries are not within the car. The batteries are within a special container, and then that container goes through a handheld control mechanism and into the hood of the car. And I'll show you that in just a moment. The Elektro Control-Car is a pretty rare car. Very hard to find it on auctions, but I did find this one several years ago, purchased it, and refurbished it somewhat. But I don't have all the parts. I don't have the hand controller or the cables, so I can't show you how it actually operates today. Maybe I'll be able to get those parts sometime in the future, and I can show you how it works. But again, the batteries are not within the car. The batteries are within a special container made by Schuco. So here are some stills of the car. Very nice metal work as always. Made in Western Germany. And there's the Mercedes logo on the hubcap. White wall tires. So here's the battery compartment or battery box. And from this box, there would be a power wire that went up to the hand controller. The hand controller would be able to steer the car, make it stop, go in reverse and forward. And here is a picture of how that would work. See, the person is holding the hand controller, the battery compartment is down below on a separate wire, and then another wire goes to the hood of the car. And since the person could control the car, that's why it's called a driver's school car. And here's what they say. Fascinating educational toy with precision remote control. Ideal for obstacle courses, drives like the real thing. Has forward, reverse, start, stop, and steering remote controlled from electric hand switcher. Power supply also from mains through 5980 transformer. So you can do it, you could power it a couple different ways. So here's the box, and in the end of the box, you can see the white spot there. That means that the car inside would have been white. Of course, this is a white car. And this is kind of interesting. Inside the box, there's a little postcard you could send to Schuco to get a catalog. The bottom of the box has the contemporary toys that Schuco was selling during that time. And here's what you'd get when you bought this toy at the toy store. Let's open up the box and see what you've got. Inside is, of course, the car. The 5308 Elektro Control-Car, based on the Mercedes 220S. This one happens to be in white, but it also came in red. 220S on the back, below the Mercedes logo. And again, there's nowhere to put batteries inside the car. They had to have power from the remote handheld battery box. And if you look carefully there in the interior, you can see 220S on the dashboard. There's those white wall tires with the Mercedes logo, and here's the bottom of the car. Schuco 5308 Elektro Control-Car. The early 5308s did not come with operable headlights, but you could buy a kit and then make the headlights operable. And I think that's what was going on with this car. I think it's an earlier car. So what else is in the box? Unfortunately, I don't have all the parts. The only thing I have really is this battery compartment, the battery box. Notice it says Schuco Ingenico, and so that was one of another series of cars that Schuco made, and we'll look at that in a future episode. So now we're going to take a look at some books, some literature. What I want to show you today are a series of books by the author Erich Schweizer from Germany. He has written several books about Schuco toys. I think they're very good books. I use them all the time for reference. So let's take a look at each one of those books. I think I introduced the first book we're going to take a look at here to you some months ago. And this is kind of what I would call the Bible of Schuco collecting. This first book. It shows you all of the original Schuco toys, including all the cars and so on. Excuse me, it's not all the Schuco toys, but it has all the cars and airplanes and things like that. It shows the dates they were made, it shows the colors they were made in, and which ones are more collectible than others. And the next one we're going to show you is about the prototypes that Schuco made. And some of the collectors have some of these prototypes. I have very few, but they do exist. Very hard to find. But they only made a few of each kind. Again, they were prototypes, and very interesting to look through here and see all the ideas that Schuco had over the years. Some went into production, some didn't. Very complete books, and I liked them a lot. So if you're a Schuco collector, you really need to get at least one of these books. That first book I showed you, the one of the pre- and post-war vehicles. If you get more serious, then buy some of these other ones. So here is the Schuco figures, and they had figures that danced. They had figures that drove along. They had, Spirit of St. Louis. They had Charlie Chaplin. There's Charlie Chaplin on the left. A whole series of figures that Schuco produced. Some are pretty easily obtainable, and others are very, very rare. I have a few of these figures, and we'll do a future episode on some of the dancing figures that I have. And here's one of I think one of the last books he wrote about Schuco. It's the Classic Collection. So these are the toys that are made in more contemporary times, more modern times. After Schuco went bankrupt in '76, other companies have taken control of Schuco, used the name, and produced other toys. Some are reproductions or copies of earlier toys that Schuco had made. Others are brand new. So if you have, for instance, what I'm showing here, that's one that I have. That's one of the trucks that I have from Schuco during contemporary times. It's probably still 10 or 15 years old. But this again will tell you when they were made and how valuable they are. So Erich Schweizer's books also tell you how you can tell the difference between an original and a replica. And for those folks that are interested in the Disler Porsche 356, this talks about the car, the original car, and the reproductions that we can buy today. I still think those have probably been out of production for several years. Some of the micro racers that came after Schuco went out of business. I find Erich Schweizer's books to be almost indispensable in the hobby of collecting Schuco toys. Now, Erich Schweizer also has produced books on Disler and other German toy manufacturers, and we'll look at those in future episodes. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for watching. If you liked the episode, please give me a thumbs up, and please consider subscribing. Good evening, everyone, from the Tin Meister.